We meet today to consider 3 pending nominations before the committee: Mr. Danny Werfel, Dr. Brent Neiman, and Dr. Rebecca Haffajee. It's going to be a busy morning here in the Senate. We've heard that from our colleagues, a lot of committees conducting business, and obviously that affects us. The majority and the minority, Senator Cornyn and I have been talking, and we very much appreciate Senator Cornyn filling in as ranking member today. We made an agreement about how we're going to proceed. We'll use the time now to make statements on nominees. I'm going to make a brief statement, followed by Senator Cornyn. Then, should there be any other finance members who wish to make statements, I'm going to stay here for that. At that point, it's my assumption that we will not have a quorum, so we would recess until the next roll call vote on the Senate floor, when the committee will reconvene in the President's room off the floor to have the vote. It's my understanding that's acceptable to the majority and the minority. I'll now make my short statement, and we'll hear from Senator Cornyn and any others that care to speak. A few quick thoughts on the issues that came up during the Werfel hearing and in written questions for Mr. Werfel. One, Democrats have finally given the IRS the resources it needs to begin to crack down on this flagrant tax cheating by too many wealthy individuals and corporations. After a decade of budget cuts, Republican budget cuts, there's a clear double standard now in tax enforcement. It has gotten a lot easier for rich scofflaws to get away with cheating scot-free, and the burden has shifted onto people of modest means, people without accountants and lawyers looking out for them. We're determined here on the Democratic side to get at that double standard, and I was pleased to hear Mr. Werfel talk about the need to address this issue. He understands the importance of rebalancing the tax code to make it more fair, go after the tax cheating by too many wealthy and big corporations, and to reflect our views on economics, give everybody in America the opportunity to get ahead. Second, the IRS needs to keep working on improving customer service and tech upgrades. There has been progress cutting backlogs and answering phone calls. These new resources that are aimed at helping the IRS improve service, in my view, are going to make it less likely that a law-abiding family or small business is going to face an audit. Third, it was clear from his testimony that Mr. Werfel will lead the IRS with a focus on maintaining transparency when it comes to tax policy and maintaining confidentiality when it comes to taxpayer data. There's been a discussion of when the strategic operating plan dealing with the new Inflation Reduction Act funding is going to come out. I've been talking to colleagues on both sides here on the Finance Committee, and both sides very much want to see it, and it's important for the American people to see it. Everybody understands how important it is to get this right. We've talked with Mr. Werfel about it, and in his own rules, and I think this was one aspect of what was impressive about him testifying here, is Mr. Werfel is a rule follower. He's going to do this job consistent with the law, and he made it clear he's going to work with both sides of this committee. And Senator Cornyn and I and colleagues have been talking about this for years. That has been a kind of trademark of our work here in the Finance Committee. And I think that's a big reason why Mr. Werfel is going to have bipartisan support in the Senate. We understand there's a lot of work ahead for the IRS, and I ought to note that we are right in the middle of the filing season. So I want it understood we're going to do everything we can to move Mr. Werfel's nomination quickly. Next up will be Dr. Brent Neiman. He's been nominated to serve as Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for International Finance. This committee last voted on Dr. Neiman's nomination 15 months ago, November 2021. It's approved 20-8, strongly bipartisan vote. He's up for a key role at Treasury that will have him working on issues that are very important to this committee, issues including supply chain problems, currency manipulation, and the ongoing fallout from Putin's illegal and brutal war in Ukraine. My view is he's highly qualified for this job. He's a renowned expert in international macroeconomics, finance, and trade. at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business. He also served on the staff of the White House Council of Economic Advisors and at the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, and he brings valuable private sector experience. 15 months is a heck of a long time to wait, so I hope we can approve this nomination, again, with bipartisan support. Finally, another nomination back for a second vote here in the Finance Committee is Dr. Rebecca Haffajee. She's been nominated to serve as the Assistant Secretary for Planning and Evaluation at the Department of Health and Human Services. That puts her at the heart of the department's efforts to tackle big health and family policy challenges, and we look forward to moving her as soon as possible as well. She's going to be working on some of the committee's biggest priorities in healthcare when confirmed, areas where Democrats and Republicans, again, ought to be able to work together. And Senator Crapo and I were very proud to have led the entire committee, the Finance Committee, Democrats and Republicans, working together on the mental health issues, which, as my seatmate here, Senator Cornyn, remembers, the fact that this committee had black letter text ready to go for you and Senator Murphy and others who were working on the gun safety bill really paid off, because we were able to get those ideas that came from the Finance Committee on a bipartisan basis enacted into law. So Dr. Haffajee, when she's confirmed, can be another individual who will work with both sides of this committee, because she's shown that in her past experience. She's an accomplished health policy researcher who served as the acting assistant secretary since 2021. I hope my colleagues will support her nomination. I hope my colleagues will support all three nominees. And with that, I want to turn it over to Senator Cornyn. And he and I have been talking about these matters on the floor, and I very much appreciate him filling in for Ranking Member Crapo.